we've built a rig for Dan Goldberg. We built it a year prior to him winning the Rolex 24 this year,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool.
Nice flex.
Um,
Welcome to episode number 7 or 8 of Inside Sim Racing. I'm Brian Bielanski, and I am really excited about the show that we've got coming up here. My guest today is a guy who I met maybe about 3-4 months ago, and I heard about these guys, these full send guys, and then we had one of his guys on our SCCA Super Tour broadcast, Beans. And you never forget a guy named Beans. So, and when I had Beans on my podcast, he said, you got to get Cort on. He's the real mind guy. He's the brains behind all of it. I think off camera, Cort, he said other stuff not quite as glowing as that. But we all have our guys who will put us in line when the time comes, right?
yep.
Anyway, welcome to the show. Cort Schmidt from Full Send Sims, our guest today on Inside Sim Racing. And I'm so happy to have you on the show. Before we get started, I want to say, though, Full Send Sims is one of my partners. And I want to clear up right now that, as you saw last week, I had another sim racing business on. And people don't have to be a partner to be on the show. Just so happens that Cort and Full Send Sims and I are partners. So, but I do have it's not a situation where you have to be a partner to be on the show. That's not the case, and we proved that last week because we had the cool guys from the Racing House on, which was awesome, but just let's get that out of the way. Business done. Cort, you're here with us. Thank you again for being on. I start every show with the same first question, regardless of my podcast, and here it comes. How did you get mixed up in this crazy sport that we love?
Well, thank you, Brian. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be partners with you. And I look the same way. I'll throw this in there real quick to get the business out of the way. But I don't, sim racing. We're all working in this together. So I'm happy to see everyone else participating too. But yeah, to give you a background.
Before you get there, real cool, because when I started talking with you about doing this, I said, I want you as a partner, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to have Sim Labs or someone else on the show, because I believe in abundance and that there's plenty of business out there for all of us. And you were like, cool, yeah, no problem. We understand how it works, and I really appreciate that, because I turn away partners who want to be exclusive. So fantastic for that. Now we get back to the first question. How'd you get mixed up in this thing?
Well, so my story is a little bit different. I actually grew up drag racing. And my uncle was one of the pioneers of drag racing back in the day and kind of got started with it. And I can give you some pretty cool pictures of his cars and what I kind of grew up around, and always a car guy. I started off in automotive engineering and then quickly found out that it was not really what I wanted to do with cars. I wanted to kind of play with them more than, work on them and do those kind of things. So I actually pivoted and turned out going into military simulation.
Oh, cool.
I did that as a government contractor for about 18 years. Fast forward to about 2016, I met a guy by the name of Aaron Weiss, who became a really good friend of mine. He got me into racing, sold me a Spec Miata, and kind of paved the way for me, helped me along the way figuring things out, because when I met him, I wanted to hear what he was talking about, what he was doing with road racing, and he wanted to know what I was doing with simulation stuff. Thought it was pretty cool. So we quickly formed a friendship, and he's been great. And that's one of the first helmets that he helped me pick out, and the rest of my suit and everything. And I couldn't be more grateful. So while I was overseas, you got one back there too?
No, I have. Hold on a second. Keep talking. Hold on.
So I was in the Middle East for about 12 years doing tank simulation and ground armor. I also was doing that over there, and kind of decided, okay, well, this is my industry, so I might as well try to get better at road racing while I'm not flying home and trying to jump on track. And so I built a sim over there and quickly started to find out this was, this was 2017 I started racing. Mid 2019 is about when I started to try to do the sim, and over there it was just tough to buy anything.
Right.
So Plus trying to figure out what I wanted to actually build, and things were, just trying to figure it out. Watching a lot of YouTube videos, brand new to the sim racing space. So
Right.
being an engineer, a lot of research, and then the pandemic hit, and I was stuck over there for 9 months. Couldn't come home, couldn't walk out the front door, and that's all we did, right? So I was racing in SCCA at the time, still do, and all the guys in SCCA started racing online. So I
Right.
started meeting a lot of people that way. So it actually even helped me get more involved in meeting the people that I hadn't met yet. So it was great.
Yeah.
While during that 9 months, I kind of spec'd out a sim, sent parts home. Thanks to the wife for picking up all the boxes when they'd show up. I started with a P1X from SimLab, great chassis. I think it's still the kind of the OG of the sim chassis that really
Yep.
kind of changed the world in this industry. Came home, kind of told them that I was done traveling, kept working with them, but I built that sim, and a lot of, the drivers that I became friends with would come over, try it out. And I was doing some things that were a little bit different than just kind of plugging in the parts and hoping for the best, right? Doing some
Right.
things I've learned over the years. And that's really where the business kind of started. So
Cool.
put two sims in a trailer and started taking it to racetracks, doing trackside either
That's awesome.
rentals or we had some instruction stuff going on, and it's just gone crazy since then.
Yeah. So the reason I got up and turned around is you said you started in drag racing. My first ever trophy was at the high school drags in Wisconsin, which was basically to keep us from killing ourselves on the streets, the high school drags. And not to say that I really got to start in drag racing. My family was SCCA folks through and through, but this was a way to take I had a Cavalier, a Chevy Cavalier, 4-cylinder Chevy Cavalier, and I won this trophy by beating a Corvette. Of course, it's bracket racing, and he broke out. So I just wanted, I love pulling that trophy out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. My first ever win on a racetrack was winning that trophy. So it's interesting with the SECA connection to everything and the P1X. We're going to talk about your newest project coming up here in a few minutes. But I went, even knowing that we were going to have a relationship, that we were going to do some stuff together. I'm not very patient, Cort. I don't like to wait around. And we moved into this new house, and I had a place for a sim in the new house, and I never had that before. So I'm like, what do I do until our stuff from Full Send works out? I got to do something. So I went out, and the P1X, they actually put all their specs in their instruction manual, right down to the millimeter of how long every piece of aluminum is, the whole thing. So I went out and replicated their rig out of 2x6s and 2x4s. So the 2x6 is essentially 160 profile aluminum, and then the 2x4 is like 80 profile aluminum. And I literally went and bought a millimeter tape measure so I could actually measure it all in millimeters. I'm a little OCD. Have you
I
figured this
like
out
it.
yet?
I like it. I've learned to weaponize my OCD. That's how I run the business. So
Exactly.
I get it.
So, and I've got a video that I'm about to wrap up, and I'm going to throw it out right before we get to your stuff. So, and I wanted to do it because the age-old argument. It's as long as sim racing has ever been. Wood'll never be as good as aluminum. Or whatever. I mean, it's just like there are people who are all in on home build, and there are people who are all in on wood or on aluminum. I wanted to compare the two. So that's why I built the rig, and I love tinkering. I love building stuff. So yeah, the P1X is definitely. I've been keeping it quiet what I replicated, but I don't see there's any reason to. They put it on their instruction manual. But yeah, kind of cool.
So it's interesting you bring that up, and let me just say, we do high-end turnkey builds, but if it's got a wheel and pedals and you're racing, that's what it's all about for me.
Yep.
So totally get it. We just try to hone everything we can, but man, if you're racing, that's what it is. So I actually spoke with Richard at the Sim Expo this year, the owner of SimLab, and talked to him about the P1X because I still do feel that it is the top of the line chassis.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, right before he re-released it, he was telling me we're bringing it back. So
Yeah.
they have brought the P1X back. We had a discussion because when I started doing the turnkey builds, I told him, I said, this thing allows us to do everything we do because we do a lot of different add-ons and different things like that, right? Especially when we're building rigs for pro drivers.
Right.
We go out and we laser scan their cockpits. And so everything, down to the millimeter, we've got millimeter tape
Yep.
measures too.
Yeah.
We've got to adjust a lot of that stuff, right? So, and the P1X was a great standard for that. And quite honestly, when he discontinued that, he knew who we were because, we bought a lot of things from him, but he didn't fully realize what kind of situation he put us in when, that went away.
Yeah.
So that's actually what kicked off our first project, and I told him about this, and he thinks it's great, what we're doing. And again, a great guy. He started his business just like we did. He actually started it not in his garage, but in his kind of living room, dining room area.
Yeah.
And that's where I started mine. So
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting.
So there's two things that you do. Well, three things, but the two of them I'm really interested in. You take your Sims in a trailer, in a hauler, and you take them to the people, which is really awesome. Where did that idea come from?
It's kind of funny. So with the military simulation stuff, we did a lot of military sim transport,
Okay.
taking them to the soldiers, right?
Yeah.
Not directly on the front line, but as close as we can get. And they use those to actually run scenarios prior to running true missions, right? So that was part of it. The other part of it was a bit more selfish. And by this time, remember, I'm going to racetracks. I started renting RVs, and I can't tell you there's nothing better than waking up at the track to go racing, right? And I love going out to the track and just kind of early in the morning, and you can hear the pinging of the guardrails and it's amazing. One of the best things. So I figured, well, hey, if I'm already going to the racetrack, I kind of want to sim in the trailer to practice with.
Yeah.
Maybe some other people do. So it gave me an excuse to tell my wife I was going to buy a big RV that I could put Sims in and start a business with, and that's where it started. So yeah.
So my wife and I are in business together as well with our live stream media company. How many times does your wife roll your eyes when you tell her you got an idea?
I've lost count.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I do have a funny story about that though. So bless my wife. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Sabrina has been awesome throughout. We actually met at a car show. We parked our Mustangs nose to nose. I thought she was wiping down her boyfriend's car.
I love it.
So when I usually go out and grab something like the race car, it can sometimes be an impulse decision, right? So I told her about the trailer, didn't tell her when I was going to buy it or whatever, and just actually kind of showed up back home with it.
Yeah.
And she's always been awesome. We got to get another trailer for the business. I go grab it and we use it and we're good to go. And she's fine. And one day I actually told her, I said, we're shredding a lot more papers now with the business and everything. And I said I had to go out and buy a bit more expensive paper shredder. And she flipped out on me. And I'm like, oh my God, am I really in trouble here? And then she's like, no, I'm just messing with you. So the paper shredder is an ongoing joke now.
Well, shout out to wives. Mine is Leslie, and she allows me to play and do all this stuff. And our agreement when we got married was you never ask me to stop racing, and I will never put the family in the poorhouse to do it. And she's held up her end of that bargain, and I have mostly held up my end of the bargain. If you don't have someone supportive in whatever your entrepreneurial spirit is, it really makes it hard. So shout out to the partners out there who let us do the things that we do. So
I'm fortunate too. She rides horses, so I get to leverage that one every now and then.
My wife likes horses too, and I always told her, I said, when the race car, when you don't have enough money and you have a horse, you still have to feed it. You still have to get someone to muck the stable. You still got to pay those vet bills. You got to have shoes put on it. The money never stops. If I have a race car and I can't afford to race it, it just sits in the garage and collects dust. It doesn't have to cost us a penny once we get it. And that's been a really good argument and very successful over the years.
That's right. Yep.
Good stuff. So what's the response when you roll up? Because it's still kind of novel to roll up at a racetrack with a bunch of Sims that people can just jump on and play on, right?
It used to be down here, at least in the Southeast region, not anymore.
Right.
We're pretty well known wherever we go. SCCA, FARA. We're working on hopefully getting with HSR soon, and we've supported NASA events, and now we're actually doing large scale public events too. So this blossomed into something for me that I never expected, was full blown event, support for
Right.
different corporate events. And when we get to the racetrack, it's almost kind of expected now. I'm getting texts if we can't make it because we're not there. They're like, "Man, we missed you." I
Yeah.
unfortunately had to pass on a NASA event recently, and they're like, "Man, we would have loved to have you there, but
Sure.
there's only so much of us now, and we're going to start probably implementing more trailers because it really has. It's a hard section of the business to, really operate because it is much more intensive than having people come to you.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth the effort.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. Before we get to the next part of this discussion, I'm going to hop in real quick, thank my partners. One of them we're having a big talk with, so I'm going to take less time on Full Send Sims, but also want to thank Sim Motion. They're the good people behind Inside Sim Racing, the entire YouTube channel. And they've been nice enough to invite me on board to help and do the podcast and share the subscriber love. So a big thank you to them. If you're looking for stuff for your sim, go check out Sim Motion. Their link is in the show notes, and we would love for you to go and say thank you by pulling out your credit card for all of the good work that they do. And there's a ton of stuff on the Inside Sim Racing channel besides my podcast. Lots of really good reviews and behind the scenes stuff. Really good folks up there, and it's just a great group of folks, and I'm really happy to be partnered with them as well. All right, back here with Cort. So let's transition now into the turnkey stuff. We're going to talk about the new project in a second. I keep deep teasing the new thing, but let's talk about the turnkey stuff, because I think there's a couple of different types of people in the sim racing world. I kind of put people into 4 categories. There's the I've never done this before and I want to take my pinky toe and dunk it in the water, and those are kind of the Logitech G29 crowd. That is what I call the entry drug to this sport. The Logitech stuff, some of the Thrustmaster things, even the console stuff. And then if you like it even a tiny bit, you're immediately starting to dream and go to YouTube University and look for stuff. And then there's the folks who go one of 2 routes. They either go to SimLab and buy a rig and build it themselves and piecemeal it together, or they do a home build, which is cool too. And some of the home build stuff's really elaborate. I've seen a bunch of cool things on YouTube as well. And then there is kind of the 4th tier of this thing, and those are the people who say, I don't have time to do this. I don't have maybe the technical know-how to do this. And I just want to hire someone to figure this out and show up and put this thing together. And that's what Full Send Sims is very well known for. How did that part of the business start?
Like I said, I've learned to kind of weaponize my OCD. So, for me, it was really the pain points that I came across building my own sim.
Right.
And being an engineer, I'm like, if I can't figure this out, how can other people do this, right? So really kind of finding out the proper processes and steps to alleviate a lot of this time that, we build entry level rigs, and then we go all the way to the full blown,
Right.
Replicating a true race car. The need for a lot of the drivers because it's still under adoption, right? That we saw this in the military world in about 05, 06 also, where they didn't really want the sims. They didn't see the need. They're like, if I can just go out to, the range and shoot the tank, why wouldn't I just go do that? And when we tell them, how much it costs to actually shoot one round down range after getting the tank there and everything, and kind of the cost savings, right? Now you can't get them out of them, right? And it's becoming kind of the same way with the pro drivers as well, and even starting at club level all the way up to pro is really kind of our main market, right? Pro drivers are just so busy, especially gentleman drivers. They're running a full blown business and they're racing at the same time, and they don't have time to be constantly updating or figuring out how to build a sim. And so that's where we kind of help them along, right? It's been something that has been challenging, trying to really elevate the builds to fully replicate what we do. For example, we've built a rig for Dan Goldberg. We built it a year prior to him winning the Rolex 24 this year,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool.
Nice flex.
Um, yeah, yeah. I'll have to show you. I'll send you some pictures. We could throw them up. And
Yeah.
that was a full LMP2 rebuild. We went down and measured his prototype and did the full build on it. And he's been extremely happy with it. And he's been a great voice box for us too.
Yeah.
Just referring other drivers. Morgan Burkhart, we've worked a ton with, who he's really making a statement now. And just kind of building these rigs to allow them to our biggest thing is obviously outside of practice makes podium, right?
I love it.
Put that in there.
Yep.
Outside of that, we don't want to replace racing. We just want to supplement it. And that's we build them as training tools, right?
Right.
So that's really where it all kind of evolved. And I'm very picky about things. So building it properly is what means the most to me. And if we're not, then they're negatively training, and that's just not what we want. So anything we can do to help them better on track.
Now, your turnkey systems, I believe, correct me, you've got something, I believe it's in the $7,000 to $9,000 range. That's like your entry level, right?
It used to be.
Right.
Unfortunately, in recent, with all the tariffs increase and everything, the new project is hopefully going to allow us to get back to that, and that's what we're working on hard right now.
Right.
We range all the way from about 10 to 15 to 100 plus.
Right.
And we're working on something really cool that I don't even know if you're probably gonna have to have me back on, because we're working on something I haven't even told you about yet.
Oh boy.
That once we confirm we can do it, I think it's gonna be a big hit.
Cool. All right, so let's get to the new project. The not that new, the intermediately new, the kind of new compared to what you just told me that I know about new project.
Surprise.
So Morgan Burkhart, you mentioned his name. He's my coach. This is how small this world is. He was my sim racing coach before I even knew that you guys had a relationship. And then when we started talking, I'm like, oh, all these different pieces of the puzzle are like falling into place. And I was like, wow, this is such a small world. But I came to you when I started thinking about doing this show, and I said, I'm looking for a partner. But the one thing I presented to you was, I know you do the full turnkey stuff. And now your turnkey stuff, you deliver it built, right? And then have someone who actually comes in and builds it wherever the location is going to be, right?
Yes, we actually hand deliver every rig and install it ourselves. Eventually we'll be creating and shipping.
Right.
But as of right now, all the 100 plus sims that we've built have been hand delivered by us, and we do a full orientation and get them going.
So when I came to you, I said, here's my thing though. I'm a tinkerer. I drive race cars, but I think I have a hard time letting these words flow from my mouth. I think I actually enjoy building more than I enjoy driving. Maybe it's because I'm not as good of a driver as I'd like to be, or I'm always trying to hold myself up to my dad's standard. My dad was one of the best race drivers I've ever seen, and I'm never going to be that good. But maybe with sim racing, doing my training, I could get to be that good. But anyway, I really like building stuff. Like I told you, I built the wood rig. So I came to you, I said, I know you do this thing, but do you have any option for someone who actually wants to build it themselves? And you said, you know what? Funny you should mention that. That takes us to your newest thing. Tell us about the new project.
So I mentioned before about the SimLab P1X. And when I started the business, one of my favorite things was building the chassis. That was just so cool to me the first time I put it together. And, my original sim evolved, over, like I said, during the pandemic, getting parts in. And I'm the same way, right? The Legos, the models growing up, working on cars. That's me in a nutshell. So I totally get it. And the turnkey stuff is great for us because we get to build them.
Right.
We love doing it, right? So when I started the business, I always knew the chassis was the most important for me in terms of providing it to people to be able to build. So what we've done now is we have fully developed what we're coining as the turnkey chassis. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the hardest things in the industry that I struggled with early on trying to put one together was okay, so I get the base chassis, and then I get, I got to get monitor mounts that fit the right monitors, and do I want a cup holder, and do I want to, floorboards on this thing, and okay, does that fit with this, and trial and error, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing is it's a full turnkey package. You will get the entire chassis in a kit, ready to go. We're working on three, if not hopefully four variants. That's the fourth one that I can't
Okay.
talk about yet. But it will be something that is fully integrated. All the turnkey rigs we build do not use monitor stands. My first rig did, and it was such a pain for me to kind of, where am I going to put the PC? And I like everything neat and tidy, right?
Right.
So we've actually developed on our turnkeys that we mount and integrate all of our monitors, our PC, all the wiring. And so we're going to allow people to be able to do that themselves also.
Very
And this
cool.
is all the way up to, we do 43, 45-inch 4K triple displays with motion if they want. It's all built to withstand the movement and everything. And one of the biggest things for me was, I'm not a big promoter of motion.
Right.
It's fun. It's
Yeah.
great. You don't need it for training, but we have a lot of people that do sometimes want like a D-box system on there, and getting the screens to move with the chassis whenever we lock the visuals in, because if you watch a lot of rigs when they move, you get this, right? It's just kind of,
Yeah.
things aren't locking in. On our rigs, that doesn't happen. So now the screens move with you when there's motion, right? All those kind of things. So on our turnkey rigs, there's only two plugs that come out of it, whether it's $100,000 rig or a $10,000 to $15,000 rig.
Okay.
And our chassis will allow people, if they want to go that far in terms of cable management and those kind of things, we have channels built into the profile heights and everything that allow the full clean underneath. And
Yeah.
and that eventually, if we see that people don't want all the options that we're offering, we're probably going to break it up. But
Okay.
you'll always have that choice of that full-blown turnkey system. The only thing I think we won't ever not allow to be an option is a cup holder, because to me that's not a sim without a cup holder, right?
Right. Right. Absolutely. Two plugs coming out, electric and Ethernet.
No, just two power plugs. You run
Okay.
your own Ethernet cable, and that's the only cable that's in addition when we go do an install.
Right.
Just plug it into an outlet, and you're off and running.
That's awesome. Very cool. What is the you're now doing this for a while. You're also a racer. The intersection of the sim racing world and the real racing world. It's no longer a thing to like talk about or dream. I mean, we still talk about it, but it's like the argument is far less than it used to be, whether there was value to this. It's pretty clearly for almost everybody out there that there's value in this. And that's probably bringing you new customers every day who maybe have been grudgingly staying away, who now are like, if I don't do this, I might not be able to keep up on the racetrack, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the seasoned drivers, like I said, just like we saw in the military, the guys that really knew what they were doing never really saw the additional value. But for me personally, I'm trying to learn something new all the time, right? So if I have the right tool to do it, why not bring that in as well? That's why with our turnkeys, we build them as closely as possible as we can, because once they adopt that training mentality of, okay, I'm ready to use a sim now, it better be as good as we say it is, or
Right,
else,
right.
not gonna be happy with it. Some of the guys struggle, initially. I say it takes about a week or two to acclimate, but as soon as I tell them drive it like your real race car, usually a switch flips,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, oh, this makes sense.
Right.
Because they get in it and they're like, okay, this is all digital. This is a simulator, not a race car. Well, no, this one's built to drive like your race
Right.
car. So, that kind of stuff. The adoption now is getting quicker and quicker, and definitely much more broad. I can't tell you how many calls we get a day about inquiries and brand new people to the space that have never thought about it, but they keep hearing about it. So
Yeah. Let's talk about for a minute the when you decide, or when somebody decides they want to come to you and they want you to make their sim as close to their race car.
Mhm.
How does that process work?
Well, so obviously we're going to figure out what they're driving first.
Right.
Um, I would say 90% of the time we can replicate it. And now we're getting closer to the 95, 98% because I've just brought on some software guys and some mechanical engineers that are really opening up doors for us to be able to customize things that we really couldn't before. Uh, so when they come to us, obviously years of experience in what car they're driving, how long they plan to drive that car, or do they plan to graduate to something else in the future? And then what we do is if they're solely stuck on the car that they're driving now, they want, replicated, we'll go out, we'll, like I said, measure the cockpit, measure the driver. We measure all the forces that, they're exerting on braking and everything related to that, down to, if it's a sequential, like we've done a couple Wayland Mazda MX-5 Cup drivers cars now. We're measuring, we're replicating the SADEV shifter in there, right? So
Okay.
we're using different. One of the biggest things that people always say is, "I want the best pedals you have." Well, it depends, right?
Right.
It's based on the application, not how good those pedals are. So we use a vast amount of different pedals, different shifters, and then that's kind of opened up a lineup that we offer to regular folks too. So now we can say, "Oh, do you want a car that drives like a MX-5 Cup car?" Well, we can do that.
Right.
We have a virtual series that we do SM and SMX, and we can probably talk about that in a minute
Yep.
too. But we're doing a lot of club level race drivers. Danny Stain,
Yeah.
top driver, we built him a sim. So he was practicing for the runoffs and those kind of things. So it ranges, but yeah, it's doing good.
All right. Rapid fire questions. What is your favorite sim platform?
Full Send Sims Turnkey chassis?
No, iRacing.
Yeah, I know. I had to put that in there though. We build all of our rigs for iRacing.
Okay.
A set of course is great for modding. So I would say because of the laser scanning and the fidelity, definitely iRacing.
What's your favorite iRacing car to drive?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say it's got to be the Porsche GT3 R.
Okay. What's your favorite track to drive on iRacing?
Sebring.
Wow. Really?
Yep.
Wow. I do enjoy Sebring. I've spent a lot of time. We did the 12-hour one year. And it always falls on a weekend. I'm at a real racetrack broadcasting, which sucks. But and what is your favorite way to sim race? Is it doing your series? Is it doing endurance racing? Is it doing the officials? What's your favorite when you're on the sim having fun for Cort? What are you doing?
My favorite real world racing is endurance racing, and that's what it is on the sim as well.
Yep.
However, when you become a small business owner and you run a business that's becoming successful, the only time I get to race currently, I try to make every single league race of ours that I can. But I would have to say when I can ever break away and run the endurance series with our teams that we have with FSS.
Yeah.
I love that. There's
Cool.
nothing better, man. Just hanging out with the guys and just running the 24-hour races. I love it.
We don't have time on this show, but you do some really cool stuff with members of the military and veterans. And we're going to do a whole nother podcast, maybe in a month or two, about that. Or maybe you can give me one of the veterans to talk to. We'll do a podcast that way to talk about all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
It is so awesome that you are helping our veterans that way. And what a great tool for that to do it through sim racing. So I want to make sure that we get that on the schedule at some point in time. This is our opportunity, or your opportunity, to thank all the folks that help you do what you do. I always like to give the last couple of minutes for that. So I'm gonna queue up the one shot, and it is yours.
So, there's a lot of people to thank, a lot more than even from the last couple years. Obviously my parents, they've been supportive in all this, especially when you're working a great job as an engineer for a government contractor. I'm just going to leave and build simulators. That they've been great, right? They support it. My dad works with me in the business, Keith. He's been awesome. He loves doing it. He recently retired, and he's having a great time do that. Obviously, my wife, Sabrina has just been so great in all the aspects. She's busy herself, but we have a great dynamic that she's been able to help support all this. And then, the Aaron Weiss, I can't thank him enough. Obviously, we wouldn't even be here if talking if it weren't for him. Paul Roney, my team owner, that our Real World Racing, running the BMWs, he's been absolutely pivotal in the education and getting me out racing and supporting that. And his wife Mary, who's been really great too. Long stories there, but just thank you to them and the FSS team. Beans, Trace, Jim, Josh, Poncho, Megan, Jace, everybody that's been involved with this that has just really seen the vision and helped things grow the way they are. And thank you to all of them.
And if you forgot anybody, you'll hear about it on Wednesday morning. So
And Morgan Burkhart.
There you go.
And Camden Hibbett.
There you
and
go.
They'll just keep coming. It never stops.
It never stops. Cort, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show with us. It's really fun to have you on and hear the stories, and I look forward to having a great relationship between Inside Sim Racing Podcast and Full Send Sim. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me, Brian. It's been a blast.
That's going to do it for this episode of Inside Sim Racing. Of course, we have bonus coverage on the Racing Network. That is my YouTube channel. And we talked with Cort here a lot longer than we're putting in this podcast. So I'd say probably another half hour's worth of content that we'll have on the Racing Network, digging a little bit deeper into all of this. So great conversation. Thanks to Cort for joining us. Of course, it's Inside Sim Racing. Check out our partners, Sim Motion and of course, Full Send Sims. And check out all the other great content on the Inside Sim Racing YouTube channel. Plenty of stuff there for all different types of sim racers. Check them out as well. That's going to do it. I'm Brian Bielanski. Have yourself a great week. And, of course, go drive your sim.